Touched my heart. Jew by the name of Moshe Erlanger. It's a Jew from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel. He was on a business trip in Frankfurt am Main in Germany. And, you know, since his wedding, he never missed Yom Kippur in his shul. People comes to the high holidays, they have their shul, you know. The rabbi, they're used to the cantor, they're used to the nusach, the negunim, the energy, the ambiance. It's Yom Kippur, it's the holiest day of the year. And he had his shul that he loved in his community. He never missed the Yom Kippur there since his wedding for decades. He had to be in Germany, but he planned a flight back to Israel in time. His plane got delayed, and delayed again, and delayed again. Time the flight was ready to leave, the Ben Gurion airport in Tel Aviv closed for Yom Kippur. He said, sorry, the flight is cancelled till after Yom Kippur. He realized he has no way getting home from Germany to Israel. He called his wife, called his children, apologized, said, I have to be Yom Kippur in Frankfurt. Wasn't very happy to spend Yom Kippur on the soil of Germany. Wasn't happy to be away from his wife, children, grandchildren, siblings, friends, community members, his rabbis, his mentors. It's from a tight-knit community in the Holy Land. But God doesn't always ask you where you want to be on Yom Kippur. He decides for you. One of the little curveballs in life. Got to learn how to catch them and go with them. Books himself a hotel 2 blocks away from the great shul of Frankfurt. Machzer he didn't have, a kittel he didn't have, talis he had, slippers he had. He comes early to shul after eating the little tuna that he had for the Sudam of Sekas in the hotel room, or sardines, or pickles, whatever he could buy in Frankfurt. Has his little meal and comes to shul. I don't know how many of you have been to Frankfurt, have seen the great shul of Frankfurt. One of the most beautiful shuls in Europe, built before the war. Capacity of a few thousand seats, which fills up only once a year on Yom Kippur. He walks into shul, he feels orphaned, he feels lonely, he feels isolated. The Gabbai comes over. Shalom Aleichem. From Vanen kommt Tayid. Where does a Jew come from? Come from Eretz Yisrael. I'm stuck. So don't worry, we'll take care of you. Here's a machzer. Here's a kittel. Here's a good seat. Make yourself comfortable. And have a meaningful Yom Kippur. He's feeling alone. He mamash misses his chevra, you know, on Yom Kippur. He's here stuck in Frankfurt. So is life. A few minutes later, the chazan goes over to the stender. Al das hamokoim, al das hakol b'yeshiva shel mayla, b'yeshiva shel mata ono matirin l'spal l'mavaryonim. It's a day that we get the consent from heaven and earth that everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome, even the avaryonim, the transgressors. Then suddenly the chazan is ahai, 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 ahoi, ahai, Kol Nidrei. And the cantor breaks down sobbing. Never heard a chazan cry by Kol Nidrei. You ever read the translation of Kol Nidrei in English? Anybody? Read it this year. Take a machzah in English, read it. Not the most inspiring piece of work. It's not even a prayer. It's a legal statement. You know what it says? all the promises that I'm going to make from this Yom Kippur to next Yom Kippur, don't take them seriously. I don't mean anything I say. Wow, that's inspiring. I'm going to say I'm no cheesecake, don't take it seriously. I'm going to say no gossip, don't take it seriously. I'm going to say I put away the phone when I come home. Nidra, no, lo nidrei, my promises are no promises. Okay, it saves people from the sin of violating a pledge, a promise, a vow, and oath. Why is he crying? Kol Nidrei, and every time he's getting more emotional. And this Reb Moshe also starts crying. Davening finishes, he goes over to the cantor. Why are you so emotional by Kol Nidrei? Why? Tell me. It's a secret here. So he says, what are you doing in Frankfurt? He says, I got stuck. I was on the way back to Israel. I got stuck. He says, you know why you got stuck? You got stuck because God wanted you to hear a story of why I'm emotional by Kol Nidrei. And Reb Moshe shared the story that the Chazan told them, and I'm sharing it with you, my friends. Huh? What do you think? You think I have nothing better to do Saturday night, 11 o'clock at night, and schlep you out of your house to make up stories? Chazan says, my name is Tzudek Greenwald. I'm also a Jew from Israel. And I come here every year to be the cantor for Yom Kippur. My parents were Holocaust survivors. So for me it's meaningful to come to Frankfurt from all places and to be here with a few thousand Jews on Yom Kippur. For me it represents the renaissance, the renewal of Jewish life after the Great Destruction. Rabbi Tzudek says, I'm doing this for years. It's very moving. Not easy, but I go, I come, I pray, I go back for Sukkot home. A couple of years ago, Yom Kippur, I do all the services, all the prayers, Kol Nidrei, Shachris, Mincha, Musaf, Min Avoida, Mincha, Ne'ilah. The day finishes, I'm zankt. My voice is parched. Not easy for a chazan on Yom Kippur, especially a few thousand Jews in shul. Those of you who do a lot of talking, a lot of singing, know what I'm talking about. Those of you who do listening, it's even harder probably. But chazan doesn't have it easy, especially a chazan like Tzudek Greenwald. He's a real chazan. Ne'ilah was finished, Ma'ariv was finished, I was done. All I was thinking about was the meal after the fast, a cup of cold water, a cup of coffee, some fruits, apples. Finished davening, shul is empty, you know the feeling after Yom Kippur, the janitor is cleaning up, the lights are already dimmed, I'm the last man out, I fold up my talis, my kittel, I head out the door, I leave the door, there's a big gate in front of the shul in Frankfurt. I leave the gate, I close the gate, I lock it. As I'm about to take a few steps to my hotel, a Jew shows up, must be in the 60s, speaks a broken German, a broken Yiddish, with a Russian accent. German, Russian, Yiddish. He says to me, he says, Wo seinen alle Yidden for Kol Nidrei? Where are all the Jews for Kol Nidrei? Tzudek says, I'm thinking to myself, what is the guy talking about? Where, which Jews for Kol Nidrei? I don't say anything. He says, Ich frag bei dich, I'm asking you, why is nobody here for Yom Kippur for Kol Nidrei? I know he got the day wrong. Not Kol Nidrei tonight. We're already ready for Sukkot. I don't want to tell him. He gets frantic. He says, Heint Banacht is Yom Kippur, Kol Nidrei, night? Tonight is Yom Kippur, Kol Nidrei, no? So I don't have the heart to tell him he made a mistake. It's not the night of Yom Kippur, it's the night after Yom Kippur. I don't say anything. He's anxious. He says, Bitte, entfer mich. Please, answer me. Answer me. What's going on? Why am I the only Jew here in Shul? I tell him, my dear Jew, last night was Yom Kippur. Last night was Kol Nidrei. Tonight Yom Kippur's over. He says the Jew broke down sobbing. Oi, 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 I can't believe it. Tata, father, I can't believe it. What happened? What happened? He says, my father, my mother, they survived the Holocaust. And after the war, they became very, very assimilated. They didn't want any connection to the Jewish community because, so many Jews they went through, they just didn't want a connection. They didn't want to be Jewish. So my father completely abandoned Judaism. But one thing he did, Yom Kippur at night, he would take me to synagogue, and he told me before he died, he said, listen, we're secular Jews, we're assimilated Jews. Aber Juden sein nicht mehr, but we're Jews. Yom Kippur, a Jew goes to shul. He said, and as long as you will go Yom Kippur to shul, you'll remain Jewish. He died. I never missed Yom Kippur night in shul, ever. And I knew that I'm Jewish. It's the first Yom Kippur that I missed. Got mixed up with the days. I came a night late. And I see that the chain of 4,000 years has been cut. I don't belong to the Jewish people anymore. That's why I'm crying. Rabbi Tzaddik says, I knew exactly what I have to do. I put my hand on this Jew's shoulders. I said, Rabbi Yid, we could do Kol Nidrei tonight. I opened up the gate of the synagogue. They said, come, Tzadai, come in. I opened the light. There were 2,500 empty seats. Even the janitor left. I went to the stender, to the pulpit in the front. I put him right near me. I gave him a prayer book with the Russian translation. And I started to sing Kol Nidrei. But I wasn't used to this. Usually there's 2,000 people listening. And he is a Jew who doesn't know the Aleph base. He said, I have to be honest with you, I'm a chazan. Usually when I sing, I think a little about God, but mostly I think about the crowd. I need them to hire me again next year. I want to impress them, I want to inspire them, I want to give them an elevated, meaningful experience. But now there was nothing of it. There was no shul, there were no people. It was me and this Jew and only one more present, God. And he said, I want you to know, as I started Kol Nidrei, a river opened up and I started to sob. All of Jewish history played itself out in that room. I felt I was singing Kol Nidrei with the 6 million Jews. I was singing Kol Nidrei with my grandparents. I was singing Kol Nidrei with Hashem. I was singing a different Kol Nidrei. This Jew was crying, I was crying. 2 Jews after Yom Kippur singing Kol Nidrei. I did it 3 times. I finished. I said Shema Yisrael with him. Hashem Baruch Shem. Hashem Hu Elokim. L'shana Abba B'Yerushalayim. Good Yom Tov. The Jew looks at me, gives me a big hug, and says, Danke schön, I thank you. He goes home, I go home, life moves on. Next year, Yom Kippur, come back to shul. Who's there? This Jew is there, front row, comes over to me, gives me a hug, and says, Cantor, you'll never ever know what you did for me. Last year, you made me realize that I'm still a Jew, and the chain has not been severed. I'll never be able to thank you enough. And the Tzaddik says, I have to tell you, since then, every Yom Kippur when I get up to sing Kol Nidrei, I have a flashback of my Kol Nidrei with this one Jew and God, and I go back there, and suddenly there's no big crowd, there's no thousands of people. It's me and Hashem and one Jew, and I get very, very emotional. This is what he tells Reb Moshe Erlanger, who got stuck in Frankfurt for Yom Kippur. You know, and I thought to myself, my dearest friends, it's not just a story about Frankfurt, it's a story about so many people's lives. Even people who live in Flatbush, and in Midwood, and even people who live in Williamsburg, and Borough Park, Crown Heights, Bnei Brak, and Yerushalayim. Sometimes you come to Shul in Yom Kippur, and the gates are closed. I don't mean the physical gates of Kingsway Jewish Center. I know those gates are open. I mean different gates. I mean the gates to the heart. The gates are closed. You're locked out. You may be in shul with a machzor, with a kittel. You're doing all the right things. You know the tunes. You know the songs. But the gates are closed. The gates of your soul are locked. You're not there. You're physically there, but emotionally, you missed it. You came a day too late. You're not moved. You're not touched. You're not there. Does it ever happen today, huh? Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Baruch Hashem, but I know what I'm talking about. So I don't care if you don't know what I'm talking about. And you feel, you know those people who feel they always come a day late, right? You always come a day late. But the truth is that Reb Tzadok understood that doesn't work that way. Dirshu Hashem behi motzoi kra'uhu b'yosei karev. Frag the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Eimas. What do you mean, search God when He's present? Speak to God when He's close. When is He present? When is He close? Eilu asari yom shebein Rosh Hashanah liyom HaKippur. No such a thing, you came a day late. Your heart is closed. God is even in your closed heart. It's fine. God is present in the Frankfurt shul even when the gates are closed. Hashem is inside of you even when you think that all your gates are mamash closed. Your mind is not there, your soul is not there, your heart is not there. You're messed up, you're toxic, you have issue after issue after issue after issue. And the biggest issue is you feel nada, nothing, efes, zero. You feel nothing. You feel numb, dead, lifeless, mamash. You're just a ritualistic Jew. You follow the routine. You know how it is. In Brooklyn, it's very easy. You just go with the flow. You kippur, it's Shoshana, Elul. Here we go, another slichas, another fahakta ma'isa. You go with the flow, and you wait for Thanksgiving or whatever you're waiting for. So it's true. That's what you're feeling. That's what you're feeling. You don't have to deny your feelings, but you have to know that a real relationship is not dependent on that. The gates could be closed and you could show up yourself and alone. And Hashem says, I'm here with you in your loneliness, in your isolation. So I want to bless you, my dearest friends, that even if all the gates are locked, You should mamish be able to know that you can have your own Kol Nidrei and just show up as you are in your whole truth and integrity and authenticity, and everything is there.